Dear Diary, today we're going to talk about some thermoacoustics because a couple years back I learned about Rijke tubes, which are these big tubes where you put a mesh inside at like 1/3 of its height, and then you want the height to be like, I'm trying to remember, I think it's like 24 times the diameter or something. And all of this is going to be wrong. Look it up yourself for the true maths, because I have the memory of a goldfish. The point is, when you heat up this mesh inside with like a blowtorch or something, it causes the entire tube to hum and resonate at its like natural frequency, because people are really out cruising this Friday, huh? Sorry about that. So yeah, the way a standing wave works is that you have areas of high and low pressure, and by manufacturing an area of high or low pressure with heat or cold, you can cause it to auto-resonate as long as there's airflow, which causes some really weird things where with the Rijke tube, Rijke tube, it will have sound one direction, but if you flip it over, even though you should still have the high and low pressure zones, it just doesn't work. And I feel like you could fix that by like adjusting where the mesh was to maybe like, I don't know. I've struggled with this on and off for a long time. But there are a lot of very cool like thermoacoustic devices, including thermoacoustic engines. But none of that is why I'm here. I saw this humming tube and I was like, this is big money. And my thought process for this was something called the Sunchime, where by focusing the energy of the sun into the right spot, you would make the tube hum and sell it with an accompanying wind chime. That way you could have a hum and then harmonics from the wind chimes. And I thought that would just be absolutely brilliant. And it should be so easy, right? Because all of my ideas are always so correct and so easy. No. Does not work well. I wound up doing the math, and you would need a huge solar collector. I guess I just was not realizing how hot fire really is. You don't want to use like candles for this either, because the vibration will just put the flame out. And they're throwback to those college inventors who made like a base device to put out fires. That's really cool. Look that up if I forget to put it in the description. But yeah, it's a acoustic device to put out fires. So back onto my main 2 points here. There are 2 things that I thought would be really interesting things to try. And one I haven't done a lot of research in. And then the other one is how I think you would fix the Sunchime to work reasonably without making it massive and a fire hazard. So the research direction that I think that I want to look into, because somebody's probably looked into it before, but would be using piezoelectrics, such as quartz, and having them, essentially having the entire tube be a piezoelectric. That way it would dampen the sound, and it would produce a voltage difference from the top and the bottom. And you could even set it up to where it would be at like a frequency of like 60 hertz or something to where it would perfectly mesh with the electrical system. So I think that would be an interesting thing, and I'm probably going to look into that more after I do this video. But I've learned that looking into things before the video really just puts me out of the mood to make the video. So I'll get back to that later. The other thing is that by having multiple ports of hot and cold, you can reduce the needed temperature differential by a lot. So in thinking about this so much, what I decided is that you need to have not a Rijke tube, but base it off of a different thermoacoustic device, one that has a hot and cold spot. And even if the cold isn't that cold, I figure it'll be fine, because you just want to set it up in such a way where you have lots of hot and cold spots so that you need a much lower temperature differential, and you can have the entire thing be basically a square or a circle and have a resonator on it. One of my initial reservations about these different kind of device that I can't remember its name right now is that they're a lot smaller, so they have a lot higher frequency, which could be a lot more annoying. But what I think I decided is that if you essentially garden hosed the entire design to where it was multiple circles, and you designed it maybe like a pot to where the outside and the inside edges are the hot and cold sinks, and that the tube kind of winds back and forth to where the hot and cold line up well, that you could fill the pot with like water or something to have your like cold reservoir, have it be pretty insulated in there. And then the external side would be where you're absorbing the sun energy and have your hot spots. And by having the tube run back and forth, you could not only decrease by a large amount the required heat differential, but you could also make the entire thing a different resonant frequency. So by using, essentially if the whole thing's vibrating and you pick a much lower frequency that is a harmonic with that and make the entire structure that, then it should also hum harmonically at that lower frequency, and then you could focus it to try and get that as your main output. I know I said a lot of just random jargon nonsense there, and that is, for the most part, why I have not made this thing. I think that it is doable, but a lot harder than I thought it would be. And I still have plans to maybe, I'd like to make this at some point, not to sell. I think that if you could do it consistently and sell it, there would be a huge market. People have been buying wind chimes for hundreds of years now. But the point is, I'd just like to own one. Yeah, it'd be neat. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. I don't think so, but I think for the basic version that I would build, it wouldn't be some fancy big resonant pot type thing. I think I would just focus on making a loop that worked, that had a resonant cavity on it to where it would broadcast at least some amount of sound. Just to say that I could do it, I did it, and it worked off sunlight. Anyway, I'll try to remember to post a couple of different links to videos so that you can just see some of the basics on how a Rijke tube works. I'll probably put one for a thermoacoustic engine. And then I've already forgotten what I said I wanted to throw back. Oh, yes, the thermal suppression. So, yeah, go ahead and check those out.